Welcome back to the Mowing in the Dark podcast. I am your host, Aaron Sutter. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Guys, we are getting ready for the first really big snowstorm of the 2022-23 snow removal season here in Michigan. Now, they have dropped the totals quite a bit for my area since we started talking about this whole snow event. So it originally was going to be like 12 inches of snow. I wasn't too excited about that. I don't get overly excited about a lot of snow, okay? But they've reduced that down to about 9 inches. That's more manageable, I think. And so I'm getting kind of stoked for that. That's going to start coming in at about 2 p.m. tomorrow. Thursday. I'm recording this on Wednesday, so the storm is supposed to start Thursday, and it's supposed to run Friday and a little bit on Saturday as well. So this is going to be a long storm, and it's going to be kind of difficult to gauge when to go out and things like that, but I'm just going to play it by ear. We seem to work it out. Everyone gets cleared. So we're gonna have to play it by ear and see what happens, because again, this is a long storm. So I've got to be out there and plowing, even though it's still snowing, because it's spanning 3 days basically. So it's gonna be a lot of work. It's gonna be some fun in the plow truck. Hopefully my son is gonna be able to come out with me and plow some snow. He usually, when he comes out with me, he does all the sidewalks. Not all of them. Sometimes I get out and shovel, because typically plowing is faster than clearing the sidewalks. So I'll get out and I'll shovel while he's using the snowblower. And that's fine. I don't mind that at all. I need the exercise anyway. So I'm getting excited for that. He's excited for money. So, it all kind of works out. And I'm just ready for this snowstorm. We haven't had a lot of snow yet this year, which is fine, because typically Michigan's snowiest time of the year is in February. So I gauge my snow removal contracts on 8 plowable events. And so as long as we get 8 plowable events, I'm happy with that. I'm fine. I don't need any more than that. If we get more than that, then I have to charge more for those events and things like that. If we get less than 8, typically I refund what the customer didn't use. So it is what it is. I try to be nice to my clients and refund that money. But, you do what you got to do. If you can't do that, then you can't do that. But I can do that. So with all that being said, today I want to jump into talking a little bit about 4 different aspects of the human person and how they have to work together so that we can be the best at what we do. All right, the absolute best. Again, this is another podcast dealing with the Frist Things First book, or First Thing First book by Stephen Cuvey. A really good book. I encourage you to pick it up and read it. It's very good. This is just a small portion, and I think it's chapter 3 or 2, talking about like you as a person, or me as a person, and how we're kind of wired for work. All right, so I want to jump into that in just a second, but first, let's hear from our show sponsors. All right, guys, we are back. So we are talking about these 4, what they are is 4 personal needs, or 4 needs as Covey calls them. All right, there's physical, there's mental, there's spiritual, and there's social. All right, there's 4 needs that everybody has. All right, what are they again? Physical, mental, spiritual, and social. So I'm filming this for YouTube, so I'm holding up the book right now. That's kind of what they look like separately, and we all have those needs. All right, and the way Stephen Covey kind of puts this together, there's another little model here. He uses circles, okay? And all the circles are overlapping. So if you think of like Foursquare, all right, but you make them into circles and you overlap them so that in the center there is one whole circle made out of the 4. or a section made out of the 4, okay? And so that's your sweet spot. That's where you want to be. All right, so basically what Stephen Cuvey is talking about here in this section is that you have 4 basic needs that make up your happiness, or what's going to make you feel most productive, okay? And if you don't have all 4 of these things working together in your life, you're not going to feel at your best. And I've been there. In fact, I was there this past year, just not feeling at my best. And so this was really, really good for me to read. And it's just something that I needed to hear and to understand. So the first one is physical. That is like moving your body. All right, physical exercise. That's also food. Anything physical. All right, that's food. That's for those of us that are married. That's sex. That's all different kinds of physical activity. Okay, so though if you have like a full circle of that physical activity, you're getting physical exercise, like intentionally exercising, not just calling your going out and standing on a mower or sitting on a mower exercise. You're actually going and you're taking a walk every day, or you're going to the gym, or you're doing some sort of intentional exercise, physical exercise, okay? And then there's mental. There's mental stuff. Like if you've got issues in your life, you need to go seek help for that. You got to get your mental aptitude right. That includes reading. That includes anything that's challenging your brain. That means turning off the TV, putting good stuff into your mind all the time, putting good stuff into your mind. Like I said, reading good books. That's the best thing for me to do, is getting into a good book. It doesn't have to be business related. It can be a good fiction book. If you don't like this type of book, like business books or self-help books, I don't care for self-help too much, but this is kind of a self-help book, but I like it. I'm getting into it. All right. But I also like history. Right now I'm reading a book on World War II, and it's about this family who are Americans who the husband became a diplomat to the country of Germany. And so he and his family all moved over there during World War II, and it goes through their story of their time there. And it's really quite interesting. And so I like history. I like some fiction. I force myself to read fiction because when I read fiction, I feel like I'm wasting my time. But I need to also have that break where I'm just reading like I'm watching a movie. I have to force myself to read fiction. So what I do for my mental aptitude is when I shop for books, okay, if I buy a business book, I also have to buy either a history book or a fiction book. Whoops, I'm sorry. I just flipped the camera of the bird. I didn't mean to. I was counting on my fingers. Sorry. So I have to either buy a history book or a fiction book. All right. Or a religious book. Those are my 3 categories that I really, or 4 categories that I really, really want to be in, is business, history, faith, and fiction. Okay. So good fiction, not trashy fiction. Now, the fiction that I have, it's, I can't remember what it is. He does military books. He's very well known. Grisham, so he does a lot of that stuff. Some would call that trashy fiction. I don't. I like it. It gets me thinking. It helps me. It's kind of a thinker, but not too much of a thinker, so I can enjoy it and not have to really work to enjoy the book. So I like those kind of fiction books. I also really like religious books. So every day I'm in some sort of religious book with my what I call quiet time. So that means I read my Bible, and then along with that I read, a couple pages in some sort of Christian book. All right? And usually it's like theologically based or something like that. I don't get into the Christian living books. I don't get into the Christian self-help. I do not use Christian Bible devotional books. I think those are silly and unnecessary. So I don't get into those. But those are the 4 categories for my mental health. Now, along with mental health, you have physical. And so that's where these 2 circles, just those 2, there's 4, but just those 2, the physical and the mental, they can overlap a little bit. Okay? Because getting physical exercise can help your mental space. All right? And then we have the social. Okay? If you're going out, if you're married, all right, and you're going out and you're working and you're coming home, but you're just sitting down and watching TV, you're not interacting with your family much, you're not doing a whole lot of things with your family, your body, your mind, your person is missing out on a key piece that you need to build what Covey calls the fire within, okay, to really fuel that passion that you have for what you do. Okay, so passion for life, essentially. And so if you don't have that social aspect, I'm not talking about going to the bar or hanging out with friends. That's social, and I guess you could fill that in, but I'm talking like if you go bowling with some of your friends, or you go to a movie, even though a movie isn't really social. When I think social, I think of sitting down, being able to talk with people. So maybe a bar would be okay. I don't go to the bar. Bars are way too expensive, first of all. Second of all, I don't drink, so it really negates the point. But you get what I'm saying. So if you go to the bar, okay, you're getting some social interaction. I go to church to get a lot of my social interaction, but you need that social interaction. So you have to have that. Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you have to have that, okay? Because it's so important for your well-being as a person, as a whole person. All right? So we're going over these 4 circles here, all right? And then the 4th one is spiritual. Now, I don't know about you, but you know that I am a believer in Jesus Christ. I am a Christian. I am a firm believer in Jesus Christ. So you have to have some sort of spiritual, what do you want to call it? If it's not Christianity, something, okay? Now, I would prefer that it was Christianity. Obviously, I'm a Christian. I believe that Jesus is the only way. He is the truth and the life. All right? He's the only way. Jesus is the only way that we can get to heaven. I believe that firmly. So I would prefer that it was Christianity. But if it's not, if you believe something differently, I'm not going to harp on it. But you need to focus on that. You need to spend time focusing on whatever it is you believe in. All right? Because it is so important to your whole person. All right? And that's where Stephen Covey goes from there. And he talks about the fire within. When you get all of those things, I'm holding the book up now, and it shows the synergy between all 4 needs. Once you have all 4 of those needs met, you get this, you're able to kindle that fire inside, that fire within, that you feel almost invincible because you've got the social, you've got the mental, you've got the physical, and you've got the spiritual. It's like you've got the quadruple threat to being a whole person. And so when you have these things, you start to kindle this fire within where you feel like you get this energy, like, all right, I'm feeling good. Like I'm not down, I'm not depressed. I'm not, I don't feel lazy. I feel like I'm close to God. I feel I'm close to my family. I feel like I'm close to my friends. I get to spend time with my friends. I'm getting physical exercise. I'm going to church. I'm spending time daily in the Word of God, or with whatever religion you have. And I'm reading good books. I'm getting my mental aptitude together. I feel good, and that starts this fire within that just burns. And this is where, as lawn care providers, we can start to really hone in. And I think of it like if you've started a fire before, like it starts small and it builds and it builds and it builds. That's what this is. It's not going to happen overnight, but when you put these things together, it's going to build that fire. You're just going to start off warm, just kind of, getting them twigs going, just the twigs. Maybe you're just burning the paper, getting the twigs lit on fire. And then those twigs get the little bit bigger twigs lit on fire. And before you know it, once you continue, this is kind of a habit thing. I'm getting more and more and more into good habits. I'm really focusing on trying to get into good habits over this winter. And so this is kind of what I'm thinking when I'm looking at this graph that Covey has in his book, that it's habits. You create habits and you build around them, and those habits working together creates this fire within where you feel built up. Like you're not lacking in any one area. Now, of course, we're human. We're not perfect. So obviously there is going to be some places, some holes where you're going to be lacking. All right. And I get that, but it's hard to explain, but you feel energized. You feel that fire building and you want to go out and crush it. All right. I didn't have that feeling this summer. I didn't have that burning, that fire within to go out and crush it every day. I was exhausted. I was tired. I was miserable. I kept thinking, I don't want to be doing this anymore. It's just miserable. I don't like this anymore. I don't want to be out here doing this. I would rather be doing almost anything else other than cutting grass. Those were my thoughts this summer. And I'm like, I didn't have any fire, any passion, because here's the deal. Because I didn't have the physical. I was lazier than I thought I was. I didn't have the mental. I wasn't reading a lot. I didn't have the social at all, other than with my family, which was fine. And with church, I had a little bit of social with church, but still, I needed more. All right, I needed more. That's why going to the GIE Expo is so refreshing for everyone. This is what you have to understand, is that at the Expo, whether you know it or not, you're getting the physical, you're getting the mental, because you're thinking about all these different pieces of equipment that could help your business. You're talking with people and they get you thinking about different things that you could change in your business. So then you're getting the social. So you're getting physical, mental, social. The only piece missing there is the spiritual. And if you spend your time in the morning at your hotel or wherever you stay before you hit the floor of the expo and you just do a quiet time, now you're getting the spiritual, the mental, the physical, and the social. And that is why you get so fired up at the expo. So when you come back home, you feel this fire inside you, like I want to go out and frickin' tear it up because you've got this fire inside. What if you had that every day? What if you had that every day? If you use the principles that Stephen Covey lays out in this book, and this is not sponsored, this is just a book I'm reading. If you use this stuff and you do it every day and you just create those habits of getting out, exercising, going to the gym, something physical, Then you get the mental where you're reading every day. And then you get the social where you're 2 or 3 times a week. Either you're hanging out with friends or you're inviting people to your home or you're getting to your church. You're doing special things with your family that excite you. And if you're getting your spiritual, you're spending time with the Lord every single day. You're going to church. You're getting that worship piece in there. You're going to have that fire that's built. And you're gonna feel that as you continue on. Now, I'm not saying that that fire can't die down. I'm not saying that you're not going to get tired and you're not going to get sick of mowing grass. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that if you have this fire and you have the habits, you can keep that fire smoldering. You can keep it smoldering so it's there. And it's still there and you're not going to give up. If that fire dies down to where it's just ashes, it's done. You're going to want to give up. You're going to give up because it's just too difficult. You don't have the passion. The lawn care business, by and large, is not about passion. The lawn care business is about who can stick it out, who can wade through the muck of the everyday grind of going out there and working your tail off in the heat, in the rain, in the dust. It's about just grinding. And so that's why a lot of people end up out of the business after 2-3 years because they just can't take it anymore. They lost the fire. They lost the fire within. They had a fire when they started because they were excited. They had something new, but they didn't have the physical, the mental, the spiritual, or the social all combined into one. They didn't have it. And so that fire went out. So what I'm saying is, get those habits. Work on those habits now. Work on the habits now to get the physical, the mental, the social, and the spiritual all working together so that you can build that fire within so that you can stick it out in this business. Again, I'm not saying that fire isn't going to die down and you're going to lose passion for your business. It's not about passion. Passion fades. It is about habit. It is about discipline. Disciplining yourself to get up and do it every day. But when you have that, you have these 4 things, these essentials, you get that fire within. So guys, I encourage you, if you're not into reading books, I get it. I would encourage you to at least get this book, Frist Things First by Stephen Cuvey on Audible. If nothing else, I have the physical book and there's graphs and things and that's really helpful. If you're not a reader, get it on Audible. Listen on Audible because I'm telling you guys, this book is really good and it gets you thinking about how I can change things up so that I can have this fire within, so I can have a better life, so I can put the first things first and forget about a lot of this petty stuff that I don't need to worry about. So guys, I hope that was encouraging to you. If it was, I just ask that you would follow the podcast, click that follow button. If you would leave us a rating and review, that would be really helpful. We do not have very many ratings and reviews on this podcast. So if you could leave us a rating review on Apple Podcasts, that would be awesome. I really would appreciate it. If you get any value out of this podcast, give us a rating and review. Just well-worded, couple sentences is all we need. All right. Thank you so much. Don't forget about the 12-month contract that is available at mowinginthedarkpodcast.com. It's only $5.99. It's completely editable. It will work for you if you want that type of contract where you get year-round income. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening and watching, and I will see you in the next episode.